you're already pretty immune. In another week, you're going to be 95% immune. And they say if you did get it, it would really be a very mild. So that's good news. You chances are you wouldn't get it. And if you did, if you were 1 in 20 who would get it, it would be pretty mild. So that's good news. That's good news. I am Marilyn and I are flying we're flying up to Raleigh, North Carolina next week. So we're feeling good enough. We're going to wear our masks and still be careful.
That'll be 3 weeks. 3 weeks after. How far after your vaccine will it be?
For us, for the Pfizer, they said 2 weeks. 2 weeks. So it'll be 2 weeks for us on Friday. And actually for Maryland, I think it's already 2 weeks. And we're flying out on Sunday. So there's no class next week, okay? I'm gonna miss you guys, but the week after. So how you doing?
So on the plane, you're gonna feel secure. You're not scared.
I'm gonna wear a mask. It's only an hour and 40-minute flight. And they say the airport is tricky. The airport is not, but the airplane, they say, is good because they have an advanced. The airplanes have an advanced ventilation system that kills most viruses. So I'm going to be wearing my mask anyway, and we're going to be very careful in the airport. So I
would be concerned.
I'm not worried. I'm just not worried.
Well, stay away from distance with people in the airport.
Oh yeah. So it might be just you and me on Zoom today. I don't know who is watching on streaming and Roku and those other things, but that's fine. We have an interesting lesson today. It's from Baba Metzia. There are 3 tractates in the Talmud that start with the word Baba. Baba means gate.
Gate. Okay.
Oh, Betty's joining us. Baba, in Arabic, Bab means gate. And in Aramaic, it means gate. There's Baba Kama, which is the first gate. And then there's Baba Metzia, the middle gate. And there's Baba Batra, the third gate, the last gate. So we're going to be looking at something from Baba Metzia, the tractate called the middle gate. So we'll start off with.
Good morning.
Good morning, Betty. Good to see you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Asher kiddushanu v'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. So I need to
say, Rabbi, the tractates, I keep getting it not clear in my brain. That's from the Talmud, the written Talmud. Anything out of that is the tractate, and the Talmud comes actual Bible. Did I get it straight?
Well, no, it's a commentary alongside the Bible. It's it's certainly we start off with the written Torah. And then we have the oral Torah by the rabbis. Generally, it is the Talmud. And the tractates, there's 66 tractates. Okay, now I have to start off with a story from my youth. I grew up in British Columbia, and everywhere on what we call the lower mainland of British Columbia, we got a big island called Vancouver Island. But on the mainland around Vancouver, everywhere there was a vacant lot. Every blackberries grow in great profusion. Blackberries. I mean, you walk down a back lane and they're just growing. I don't know why. It's just a great place for blackberries to grow. And it's a wonderful, and as kids we'd go, pick blackberries. So I remember I was with my friend Bob White, his name was. I don't know whatever happened to Bob. And we were I guess we thought was a big, we thought was an empty lot. And we brought little plastic bags and we were picking blackberries and putting them in. We were just little boys. And we made a little hole at the corner of the bag and you could just suck the juice out, right?
Mm.
This is what we did. We're the little boys, doing crazy stuff. So anyway, apparently it wasn't a vacant lot. It actually was a huge yard that there was a person living on it. So this old man came out like this, shaking his fist. And he said, "You kids are eating my blackberries, get off." And I remember, and I thought, when I was a little kid, I thought it was the funniest thing. Bob had, his neck stuck out of his collar like this. And he had his whole mouth was purple. And he said, "We're not eating your blackberries, mister." And his whole mouth was purple, caught in the act. And even as a kid, I started bursting out laughing, like, he caught us, with the evidence. But anyway, so you'll see why I told you that story in a moment. Now I'm going to share something with you. Can you see this?
No.
You can't see it. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to go to sharing. Let's see. I'm going to go to sharing. Okay. Where is share screen? Good. Share. And now I'm going to try it.
No.
Can you see it now?
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, I will make it bigger. That's easy to do. Whoa, that's really big.
Wow, that's
okay.
Good.
Here we go. So
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. So these are laws regarding farm workers, and you remember Israel was predominantly, at one time, an agricultural society. So if you had some money, you owned fields and you would hire poorer people to tend your fields and to help you out. So there's a question about can you eat the blackberries if you're actually working for the guy? Can you eat what are you allowed to eat? You're being paid by a farmer to harvest his fruits or vegetables, or it could be anything, but these would be edible things. It wouldn't be grain. It would be something that could be eaten right there in the field. Is that allowed? I mean, after all, it's the property of the farmer. So let's look at Mishnah 4 here. What does it tell us? A laborer may eat of the fruits among which he labors. Oh, so we have a principle. Yeah, he can nosh a little bit, okay? He can nosh, but within reason, we're going to find out. If he works among figs, he may not eat grapes. If among grapes, he may not eat figs. So if he is harvesting the figs for you and you have a vineyard next door, he can't stop what he's doing and go over and pick grapes, because he's not working in the grapes. But if he's working, but he can eat the figs, right? Now, if he happens to be picking the grapes, he cannot go over and eat figs. It's just what's in front of him, okay? He may eat of these fruits only during the time of his labors. But the rabbis had said, laborers may eat as they go from one furrow to another, or as they return from the wine press, and as an ass may eat while it's being unloaded. So what does this tell? Now, just taking this idea that you can only eat, you may only, oh, wait a minute, I skipped something. He may refrain from eating until he reaches the best fruit and then eat. He may eat of these fruits only during the time of his labors. So what does this tell you? Can he's being paid. He's being paid to pick the whatever it is. Can he fill up a basket and take it home with him? Is that allowed here? What would you think? Can he stuff stuff in his pockets and take it home with him? What do you think, Marilyn?
I don't think so.
No. What do you think? What do you think, Betty?
No, he can only, no.
You know, as he is working, he can have a nosh, but he cannot just fill up a sack of stuff and take it home. That's not allowed. Now, there is a law given, and we're going to see it. We're going to look at this commentary at the bottom in a moment. There is this a law in the Torah, the written Torah itself, that says when you have an ox, that you're using in agriculture, you may not muzzle its mouth, meaning you can't stop it from stopping and having a nosh. It's an animal, if it wants to stop and eat a bit of grass or a little bit of fruit, you got to let it stop. Okay, Mishnah 5. Betty, would you read where it says Mishnah 5? A laborer may eat cucumbers.
A laborer may eat cucumbers, even a
dinars.
How do you pronounce it? Dinars worth. Dinars worth, and dates even a dinar's worth. Rabbi Elazar ben Hisma says a laborer may not eat more than his wages worth, but the sages permit it. Yet they would teach a man not to be so greedy as to close the door against himself, eat so much that the employer will not hire him again.
Okay. So a dinar, now they're trying to say, is there a limit? Is there a limit to what the person can eat? I don't know if the fact that they mentioned cucumbers and dates has any particular significance. But a dinar is quite a bit. A dinar is, a few quarts of vegetables, I would think. It would be worth. So we have one rabbi, Eliezer ben Hisma, says he can't eat more than he's trying to set some sort of limits. They're going, the farmer can't have the, he can't have the laborers eating up all of the fruit. And if he's paying the laborers too, so he's saying he can't eat more than his wages. So he's going to get paid $20 for the day. He can't eat more than $20 worth of fruits and vegetables. But the sages say he may eat even more than his wages. But what do they say? Don't be so greedy. Don't you're going to get they recommend to the worker that if you make a make a hog of yourself, if you ate too much, the guy's not going to hire you again. So don't do it. What's the concern here of the sages? What are they wrestling with here? What do you think the issues are that they're looking at? What are their concerns?
That the employer won't have enough. You won't want to hire him again because he's eating too much of his food, of his fruit.
Yeah, he's saying, is there a limit? Now, the sages They say they seem to not be that concerned about limiting it. They said, let him eat as much as he wants, but as an aside to the laborer, they said, don't be greedy. What are this? So there's a balance here, isn't there? There is a balance. Rabbi Elazar, Elazar ben Hisma is saying, he's a little concerned about the employer losing money. And the sages are saying, you know what? We got to make sure these are poor people. These are poor people doing hard labor. Let them eat. We're concerned with them. So let's not put a limit on them, but let's just give them some advice. Don't eat too much. But there is, you could see that there is, they're trying to come up with something that's equitable for the laborer and equitable for the employer as well. Marilyn, would you read Mishnah 6?
Before I begin, Rabbi, let me comprehend this again.
Okay.
The Mishnah, these things we're talking about is obviously not in the Bible. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, yeah, so that's right.
These rabbis are talking about this subject. The Mishnah is related to the Bible. Isn't there a connection? That's what's confusing me.
Well, okay. Here's the deal. When the rabbis talk about Torah, they're talking about the 5 books of Moses, okay. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, the Bible. But they're also talking about the oral tradition. What they say is this. Besides the 5 books of Moses that were handed down at Sinai, there was a whole body of law also handed down. It was called the oral tradition. It wasn't written down originally.
Not in the Bible.
Not in the Bible. It wasn't written down. Moses learned all of this other stuff, and he taught it. He didn't write it down, but he taught it to the other leaders of his time, and they kept passing it down from one generation to the next. It was called the oral tradition. Okay. Eventually, it did get written down. It got written down in the Mishnah, and that was about, that had to be 1,400 years after Moses, a long time after Moses. It finally, because when we were exiled from the land of Israel, there was a worry that it would be lost, it would be scattered and people wouldn't remember it. So we wrote it down, okay?
Okay.
The oral tradition and in the Mishnah. And the Mishnah is kind of the beginning of the Talmud. Does that answer your question?
Beginning of the
Talmud. It's kind of the Talmud. When there's a commentary on the Mishnah, we call it the Gemara, and together they make the Talmud. But the Mishnah was written down in the year 200 CE, and then for the next couple hundred years, the next 300 years or so, it was debated. And people kept a record of the debates, and they called that the Gemara. And they put it together, and it's the Talmud. Okay.
The Talmud has the commentaries.
Yeah, it's got the Mishnah. It's got the Mishnah and the commentaries on the Mishnah that we call the Gemara. Would you read Mishnah 6?
Okay. A man may agree to accept extra pay and give up the right to eat the fruit that he is hired to pick. He may do so for himself for his son or daughter that are of age, for his bondman or bondswoman that are of age, and for his wife, since they have understanding. But he may not make such an agreement for his son or daughter that are not of age, or for his bondman or bondwoman that are not of age, nor for his beasts, since they have no understanding.
Okay, so what are we dealing with here?
Money.
Okay, we're dealing with the money. So what's the deal that the laborer is offering his employer here?
The deal is I'll give you money, but don't take any of my crop.
Well, that would be the deal that, yeah, okay, you saw it from the employer's point of view. I'll give you some extra money, okay? Now, normally I pay you $10 a day, and you can eat whatever you want, but I'll pay you $15 as long as you do not eat anything. And so, is the laborer allowed to do this deal? Can he agree to this, and under what circumstances?
For certain people that's mentioned, except for the ones that are young.
Yeah, why not? Why couldn't he? Why, like, you know, in the old days, it would just be like, Immokalee out in Immokalee is about 40 miles west of here. It is in the it's in Collier County, which borders on Broward County, and it's a community. It's there's a lot of agriculture out there, okay, and a lot of migrant workers are there, and some of these people are they're undocumented, or they're seasonal people that we allow in the country to do some farm laboring, but they come in families, okay? Often.
Okay.
It might be from El Salvador. You'll have the father, the mother, and a bunch of kids all out there picking our tomatoes or cucumbers or whatever. Okay, so they had the same thing back then. So there is this agreement that you could that a farmer and laborers could enter into more money, but you can't eat. Now, the laborer is not allowed, the father of the family is not allowed to commit the children to this, because they are young and they don't understand. They're probably going to violate it. They're little kids. They're running around with their moms and dads. They're not doing much work. They're going to eat, right? They're going to eat. You can't tell a little kid not to eat those blackberries, right? They're going to do it. I did it. And you can't, and you can't, and the employer has to understand, if I bring animals with me, I don't know, maybe I bring some farm animals with me that are going to help in the labor, I can't commit them. I can't tell you that my ox, or my that I use to pull a cart, I can't tell you that my ox will not eat, because hey, an ox is an ox, he's going to eat. And even the written Torah tells us you shouldn't muzzle an ox. Let's go into the commentary below the line. Okay, Betty, would you read in the Mishnah Baba Matzia 7?
In the Mishnah Baba Matzia 7 is an example of the sweet reasonableness, the sense of fairness, the exactly right balance between the requirements of justice and righteousness that the rabbis try to teach. At harvest time, the fruits and vegetables belong to the owner of the orchard and farm. That is justice. but it would be unfair, unrighteousness to deny a taste of these fruits and vegetables to the people who labor all day harvesting them. Torah says, you shall not muzzle the ox when he treads out the corn. The commandment says, in effect, it would be cruel to make the ox tread out the grain. That's how grain was threshed in ancient times, without allowing him a sweet mouthful from time to time. In this Mishnah, the rabbis extended the commandment to human harvesters. They also made sure that this compromise between justice and righteousness wasn't twisted by either stingy owners or greedy workers. To protect the laborers who picked the fruits and vegetables, the sages said that the pickers couldn't be told to eat only the scrawny, unmarkable apples or figs or whatever. The harvesters could wait until they reached the luscious fruits, then take some, nor could they be held to the letter of the law and be restricted to eating only while they were actually picking. They were allowed to stick ripe fruit in their pockets, nibbling on it while walking from one road to another. They could eat grapes while walking back from the place to which they had delivered the full hampers.
Okay, so they can't take them home with them, okay? The rabbis are trying to figure out here. They can't stuff a big bag or a basket full of stuff and just take it home nilly-willy. But walking from row to row, you got rows of, when I lived on kibbutz, I remembered we harvested from orchards, and you walk from row to row, they're all in a row. So I could, you could pick an apple or a pear or grapefruit. I only picked grapefruit once or twice. They got thorns. It's a little hard. So I got a good one. I got a nice apple. I could put it in my pocket, and as I'm in the orchard, long as I eat it in the orchard, and I went to the next row, that was okay. But I couldn't. You could not fill your pockets, and because that would be in a sense stealing from the from the employer, right? So when they're talking about righteousness here, they were talking about what's the compromise between justice and righteousness. Instead of righteousness, I wish they would have used the word chesed, kindness, because righteousness you can understand in a lot of different ways. But I think the debate here is between honesty and compassion, right? Honesty and compassion. I think that's really that's how I would have written that little commentary. Let's see if I can. Yeah, and I think that is something that we all wrestle with. You want to be compassionate. You can't have a society that that people can just take what they want. That's chaos, right? You don't want that, but you don't want to be so strict that a poor person can't feed themselves. Okay, so we're going to go on. I don't know if I can make this page any bigger.
This is small.
This is small. Let me see what I can do here.
It's small.
Yeah, it is a little small. I can see that. Well, try and here we go. Let's see. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna blow it up here.
You got it. That's the symbol.
I'm a genius.
Right
the top. Okay. On the left hand page, Marilyn, would you read that? I know it's kind of and to protect
the farmer from losing a sizable part of his crops. The pickers were allowed to eat only the produce they were picking. They couldn't wander into the next field to get something more to their liking, nor could they take a basketful home.
See, now they're trying to be fair here to the farmer.
Right.
The laborers, he's picking apples and he goes, oh, look at, hey, over there they got some squash. I can go over there and we'll make a little stew here. Now, can't do that. You're picking apples, eat some apples, but you can't just be wandering around, and you can't take it home with you. That's not fair to the farmer. That's just not fair to the farmer. Okay, keep reading.
The makers of the Mishnah were too smart to write into law exactly how much a laborer might eat while working in the fields. What is a nibble to some folks is a meal to others. Some rabbis said a laborer was allowed to eat even a dinar's worth. That's what we read.
A dinar,
dinar bought a lot of vegetables in those times. Rabbi Eliezer thought a harvester should be restricted to eating no more than his day's wages would buy in the market, which would mean that the total cost to his employer would be twice the actual monetary wages. But the majority of the sages considering this question refused to put a monetary limit on this nibbling. They merely cautioned workers, don't be a pig.
Don't be a hazard.
Right. You'll end up with nothing because the farmer won't hire you the next day. So
okay.
The laborer has to be reasonable and the farmer has to be reasonable.
So Rabbi Elazar, he's trying to actually set a limit. He's trying to put a cap on this. Now, the sages, they come, the last to be quoted is usually the law, okay? And when it's anonymous, we don't know who the sages were. When it's anonymous, that is usually the law, okay? So Rabbi Elazar, he's saying just he's saying a day's, the laborer can eat up to his day's labor, whatever he would be paid. And the rabbi said, come on,
How can you figure that out?
How can you figure it out? It's really, they say, they basically say it's got to be an honor system. There's no way that some things you can pass a law, right? Sometimes you can just pass a law. And you can, and other things you got to say, come on, people, it's so hard. There's so many variables here. We can't really be so specific. Something, I'm reading a book right now. I don't know if I'm going to finish it because it's a little difficult, all the statistics. I'm reading a book called The Moral Economy. Okay. And it talks about when you put a price on things, you kind of do away with people's ethical impulse. Let me just give you when you put a price on things, if you want people not to do something, and you put a little fine on it, okay? Or you put some financial limits on it, people, sometimes it backfires, okay? Sometimes it backfires. If you said, and this is how it might backfire here. If you tell a person you can eat a day's worth, we're putting a limit on this, a day's wages worth of fruits you may consume. Okay? If that becomes the rule, a lot of people are going to say, you know what? I'm going to get my value. I'm allowed to eat a day's worth. I'm going to eat it. Might get a little chubby, but they're going to do that, right? If you just say, don't be a hazard, right? Be reasonable. Tell the farmer, listen, don't be looking taking a note of every little cherry or raspberry the guy's taking. But guys, just be reasonable about it. The case study in Israel was rather interesting about when you put a price on something, okay? There was a daycare center in Haifa, Israel, and people were coming late to pick up their kids, okay? Which meant the teachers had to stay later. And, they wanted to go home and, look after their families and stuff. They had stuff to do. So they wanted to encourage the parents to come and pick their kids up on time. So this is what they did. True story. They imposed a little fine. I'm not sure exactly what it was. You're half hour late. It's going to cost you this much. An hour late, and every hour after that, there's a charge, right? Guess what? Instead of discouraging the parents from picking up their kids late, there were more parents coming late. Their thought was, you know what? It's a cost of doing business. Oh, I like to do a little shopping before I pick up my kids at the daycare. So it's going to cost me a little extra money. I'd have to pay a babysitter to do that. So it backfired. They put a price on it and it backfired. Instead of encouraging people to come on time, more people were late. I think something like that is operative here. Rabbi Elazar is trying to put a price on it, right? Some people are going to eat more, some people are going to eat less, but they're not thinking about it. They're just, they're just noshing a little bit. And that works out pretty well with the farmer. When he balances it out from the people who eat a lot and the people who just eat a little bit, it balances out okay. If the rabbis say, this is how much you can eat, and it's a strict rule, everybody's going to try and eat that amount, right? It fixes it in their head. I got it coming to me. Better to leave it a little vague. Better to leave it up to people's ethical
judgment
and what their tummies are really telling them. Does that make sense?
Sure.
And so the rabbi said, just cool it on putting a price tag on this. Okay, Betty, in section 5 of the Mishnah.
But Rabbi, wouldn't the workers who are having to stay later to do the job because the parents are late, the people who are running it, wouldn't the workers want more money for being?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure.
Balance there.
I'm sure. You can imagine how when somebody comes late to pick up their kids at a daycare, you got to pay the teachers. You got to keep if you have to keep your building open, the regulations, you got to have administrative people, you need security, you need a nurse, you got to keep the air conditioning running. It costs money, right? And besides, everybody just wants to get home. You got your own life. They just want to get home. You want to close down the place of the day and you get home. So did they make money? I don't think they made any extra money doing it. That wasn't even the point, to make extra money. Oh, we're going to charge them kind of a babysitting charge. No, all they wanted was the parents to come and pick their kids up at the right time. And the parents just made it a cost of doing business in their head. Think about that. Better, you should say, try and make it on time. Because if you tell people, listen, you know what, your kids' teachers, they have kids and they have to go to home. They have to make dinner. they want to do a little shopping too before dinner. You know, maybe they just want to go home and have a shower, put their feet up for a minute. You know, parents might get that and they might say, okay, I'm going to really try. I know I'm really inconveniencing them. But if you put a price on it, okay, they go, okay, I'm paying for it. And that's at play here in this Mishnah. Don't put a price on it. And I think the sages are very wise. Rabbi Elazar tried to, the other rabbi said, cool it. Okay, go ahead, Betty.
In section 5, excuse me, of the Mishnah, the rabbis again show that beautiful balance between the rigid law and understanding of human nature. When the owner of an orchard hired pickers, he generally hired the whole family or household. And if the family needed money desperately, the head of the family could make an agreement that no one would eat the fruit they were picking. Instead, the owner would pay the family an extra amount of money, roughly the value of what they would otherwise have eaten. The head of the family could make this agreement for all members of the household, except for the children and animals. Those members of the household would reach the age of understanding, say 11 or 12, could be barred from eating. But said the sages, it would be cruel, unrighteous. It says it would be cruel, unrighteous to make little children and animals spend a day in a vineyard or orchard and deny them a taste of a luscious grape or a sweet fig.
Yeah, they're kids. And the animal, and if you got an animal with it, you can't, you know, that it's cruel. They don't understand. And, you know, so the rabbis, the sages, the rabbis understood, okay, if you got this agreement must have been done in ancient Israel. Hey, I'm not going to eat anything. I need the money. I got to pay for my rent. And I got enough, what you're paying me is enough that I can feed myself, but I got to pay my rent tonight. So I'm not going to eat, just pay me a little more. That was probably the arrangement. But the rabbi said, it's okay for you to do that. But if you got little kids, you can't guarantee that have come with you. You can't force them not to eat. It's cruel. So it's a balance between justice and mercy. Okay. Any comments?
The comments are that they're trying to teach the people the proper behavior between human beings.
That's right. That's right. Isn't it a beautiful thing? You see how Talmud, Talmud in Jewish thought, you know, you can have your highfalutin philosophical concepts. Very nice. But, you know, to be a decent person, you got to look into the nitty-gritty of business dealings, of human relationships. And that's where, as they say, the rubber meets the road, right? And it's left up to us. This is the nice thing. God doesn't tell us exactly what to do. God gives us kind of an overall, thing that and then it's up to you and me to discuss it. What's fair?
And this is what Moses orally explained to the people when they came out of Egypt. This is how you have to behave when everybody was in this land, et cetera, et cetera. And this kept getting passed down. And these were the rules that came not from a Bible, but from the oral tradition that Moses also had.
Got it.
I never knew that there were two different parts. So there's a Bible and there is an oral tradition that came from Moses.
Yes, perfect. Really you understand it perfectly now.
I'm trying. And this teaches the world, the essence of it is, in my opinion, is that God passed this to Moses. This is how people should behave. And Jews are supposed to share this with the world so that the world would have a fairer equity in laws.
And, you know, in every age, what we do, if we're serious Jews, Marilyn, by serious Jews, I mean people who really want, who will do a little Talmud study the way we've done it, to learn these principles. We will also see if there's any way that we can take some of these principles and apply them to our own lives. Now, I've been an employer. I don't know whether you two have, yeah, I know Betty has had people working in her home. Marilyn, you've had people work. You've had, now sometimes we're not the owner of the business. We might be managing, but you know, the question in a modern period, you know, we're not farmers. I don't think any. I've done a little farming on kibbutz. My great grandparents lived did farming in Saskatchewan. Where might we take some of these principles, this approach in the modern world, in a modern world that isn't agricultural? What about a factory? You know, there's more factory, there's more service stuff going on, retail. You know, someone, you know, you got a store, you're selling, you got a store, a retail store. I don't think, if I owned a retail store, I don't think I would let my employees take stuff home with them. I just don't see how that would work. But on the other hand, I would want them to be able to enjoy, you know, if I'm selling Levi jeans, right? I got young people working for me. I would like them to be able to afford to wear those Levi jeans. It's a more expensive item than a piece of fruit, right? Maybe I just give them a good discount. I don't know. Maybe I give them a good discount and I say, you know, if you're working for me, I'm giving them to you at cost. Okay, they might be.
Right.
Jeans are expensive these days, you know, $50, $60 a pair. And say they cost me $20 or $18 and I sell them for $50. I could say, hey, listen, you're working for me. First of all, I want you to wear the product. It's good for me. You wear the product in the store and you love those jeans. And, you know, I can't give them to you. It's just, you know, or maybe I can. If business is so great, maybe I can. Maybe I can say, here's a couple, you work for me for a few months. I'm going to give you a couple of pairs of jeans. I want you to wear them to work. You wear them out, you know, but I want you to come make them nice and clean, press them when you're working the store for. I don't know, but it does seem to me a little cruel, and this happens all of the time, for people to be working, manufacturing, making, selling something that they can't afford and they can never taste the fruit of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
If you can. Now, you got working class people selling luxury cars. I don't know what you do there. You know, you can't give them a car. You know, but you want them to. You want them to taste. Give them a little taste of what they're selling. I'm not sure how this applies, but you know, but
maybe
as
a friend of theirs who can afford the car comes and he works there, he can get him a discount from the owner.
Yeah, maybe you can do that. Or if I have some used models of it and I can lease them cheap, I don't know, give my employees a little bit of I want you to enjoy the Mercedes. Listen, I can't give you a Mercedes at $60,000. But I also sell used ones.
I can give you a good deal on that.
I can give you a really good deal, or I can lease it, you know? You can lease it very cheaply. Maybe but I want you to enjoy the product too. You know, it's good for me. If my salespeople can go, you know, I drive a Mercedes and it's great. You know, it's an older model, but I'm telling you, these cars have got it. You know, you talk about it. And it's also kind of a nice thing to do. I can't give it away. I don't know. I'm just saying, how can I take what we've learned in Baba Metzia today? How could we apply it? I don't know if we can, but in certain circumstances, maybe we can. Certainly in a restaurant. Now that would be easy. Right. The end of the night, hey, you know, you usually have way, you know, in a restaurant, in that business, usually got more. You can say, hey, the specials, we didn't sell all the special. Hey, before you were cleaning up tonight, help yourself to that chicken Kiev that we made there. You know, we made extra. Enjoy it. And the next time we serve it, you can tell the customers how delicious it was. Or maybe you can go, you don't want the chicken Kiev, but they
can't take enough for their neighbors to make a party.
Yeah, yeah. We're not gonna. No, that's not allowed.
No. Be a certain amount that they're permitted to take.
Yeah, yeah. You know, at the end of the night or on your break, if things are a little slow, and I'm not going to use it anyway. Yeah, help yourself. Just look, we made all this. You know, usually I think that's the way it works in a lot of restaurants. You know, I think. You can't. They should. I like I think that's the way it works, because when I go to a restaurant, I go to a decent restaurant. The waiters and the waitresses talk about the food like they've actually had it. You know. Oh, that's good. It's good for business. It's nice for them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, listen, no class next week. I'm going to be up in North Carolina. I'm going to North Carolina.
Trip and a great time.
Yeah, I'm going to see the Einacles, and I'll be back on Thursday, and I'll be back for Friday. And I'm just going from Sunday, leaving Sunday morning, coming back Thursday afternoon. We haven't been up to our house in Raleigh since early November. So, we got to go and check it out, make sure it's okay. Okay, kiddos, love you. I hope this was fun for you.
Stay well, everybody.
Okay, take care. Bye. Bye, Betty.